Good afternoon. Welcome to Wayne State University School of Medicine's Google Hangout about VSAS. My name is Shabana Mohanan, and I am a financial aid officer here at the School of Medicine, and I will be your moderator today. We hope to introduce VSAS, which stands for Visiting Student Application Service, and answer any questions that you may have to help you prepare and to apply. If you have any questions during this Hangout, you can post your questions to wayne.edu/live. Let us now welcome our panelists. I'll call on the panelists one by one, and please introduce yourselves with your title and the office you represent. Ms. Connors and Dr. Dixon, if you'd like to go first.
Good afternoon. I'm Ms. Kate Connors, and I'm the counselor for the class of 2019, and hope I can help answer some of your questions today.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. S. Julian Dixon. I am the counselor for the class of 2020.
Thank you. Mrs. Mayweather?
Hi, I'm April Mayweather, and I will be your VSAS coordinator for your year, and hopefully this will be a great year for you.
All right. Kelsey?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelsey. I'm a fourth-year medical student applying to OBGYN, and will be doing an away rotation at University of Utah next month.
Thank you, everyone, for your introductions. You'll get to know a lot more about our panelists as we go through the Google Hangout and share all the information that we have for you. The first question is actually for April. And since she's our VSAS coordinator, would you like to tell us what is VSAS?
Hi. VSAS is a AAMC, which is the American Association of Medical Colleges program for visiting students so that they can go to electives outside of their school. And it's a process or software that we use that will assist them in obtaining electives, either going or coming. So at this point, when we explain VSAS, VSAS assists with helping away electives in a designated software program to provide exposure to new educational experiences and a chance to explore residency opportunities at liaison committee and medical education sites, such as right now, we are one of them, Wayne State University is, University of Chicago, and there are a lot of other ones. If you look on the site, you will see them.
Thank you. From a student perspective, Kelsey, do you have anything you can add about having used VSAS and what it's about?
So there's a lot to do for VSAS in terms of applying for an away rotation that can cause some stress on students while they're still completing their clerkships. But as long as you try to stay as organized and proactive as possible, it can make the process a lot smoother and a lot less stressful. The main requirement for a lot of the away rotation applications are really providing documentation of your immunizations and school transcripts. So the best thing to do is to start gathering those records as you progress throughout third year. A lot of VSAS, I believe, opens around January, and then a lot of the applications start going live in early spring. So winter break is a good opportunity for students to start gathering their immunization records and figuring out if you need to get updated on anything. And there's different forms for different schools, as well as a combined form through the AAMC, and those need to be signed off on a healthcare provider. So it's good to try to looking ahead at your clerkship schedule to see when you can fit those kinds of appointments in. And also get additional tests if need be, for example, a TB test if yours is expired. A couple other things that are good for students to know is that some electives do require BLS certification, and ours does expire in the fall of third year, as we did that certification during M1 year. So for example, I know for sure that University of Washington in Seattle does require BLS certification. So if that's something you're highly considering, it'd be good, again, to look ahead at your schedule to see when you could fit in a recertification class. Some electives also require letters of recommendation. Continuity Clinic is a good resource for this for students who have that earlier in the year. And so again, just thinking ahead of people you might want to ask. And other than that, the biggest thing is to keep a timeline of the due dates of the different applications once they open, and you'll have access to that once VSAS opens. And again, just staying organized so you can complete all of them in time so that Ms. Mayweather can send off your application quickly because she's very fast about it.
Thank you so much, Kelsey. Now, Kelsey mentioned a little bit about when you would start getting access to VSAS. Mrs. Mayweather, would you like to give us some more information about when students can gain access and some of the things that go about when they're beginning to use the application service?
Sure. Students may begin accessing the VSAS website January 2019. To access the VSAS website, you must first be authorized. You will begin to receive an email letting you know that you are beginning to have access to VSAS, and what you need to do is accept that email, and then once you do that, you will become a user, and you'll receive an email that states that you are a new user instructions. You will get new user instructions, email containing the information that you will need to sign into VSAS.
Thank you for that. Can you also elaborate on what are some of the things that students can do now to prepare for VSAS?
Sure. Right now, you want to start updating your CV. You want to include information about your academic background, and this should be 1 to 2 page summary that quickly and concisely conveys your skill set and your qualifications. You also want to have a professional photo taken, and you are responsible for your own photo as well. You want to have an updated immunization record. If you have a primary care physician, you would want to reach out to them to make sure that your information is accurate and complete. If you do not have a PCP, you can make an appointment with the School of Medicine MD Health Records Office, and they can assist you in getting that information for you. If the school uses the AAMC standardized form, it will be uploaded on the school's website, and we also have it uploaded as well, or you can find it at the AAMC website. Please do not contact the school regarding your transcript. Once you have started the process and you have added your classes, we will then be notified by VSAS, and your transcript will be uploaded at that point. And then you can start with the process in obtaining electives. Your key information that you need to know is that the MD Medical Records Office is Dr. Blessman. Their office hours are normally Monday through Friday. In case something changes, we will definitely let you know. But at that time, they are going to make sure that your TB testing and your influenza vaccinations are complete. Room 306, and their email, if you need it, is MD Health Records, and I'll spell that MDHEALTHRECORDS@wayne.edu. All applications are processed through the Office of Records and Registration. Please do not directly contact the departments that you're interested in, as you are interested in completing an elective rotation regarding visiting clerkships, as they may not be able to hold your visitation for you.
Thank you for that, Mrs. Mayweather. Kelsey, is there something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I can add a couple of things about what you can do now. If there are particular programs that you're interested in, you should Google those programs, as most schools do have their own web page for visiting students, so you can see specifically what their requirements are and how you can try to accomplish those ahead of time. As Ms. Mayweather mentioned, the AAMC has their own standardized form, but several schools have their own as well. So you could try to download those independent forms from their website so you can be organized and have as many forms ready as possible when you go to see your primary healthcare provider to sign off on them. Dr. Blessman, as mentioned, can sign off on them as well, but he also usually signs them on Fridays each week. So if you had one that might be due in the middle of the week, you should plan ahead that he might not be able to sign it and get it to you in time. And then the last thing is that the flu vaccine records sometimes aren't for our class last year were not properly sent over to the school. So we had to go directly to the campus health center to get the records, which is very easy, but unfortunately the school wasn't able to provide them to us directly.
Thank you. Mrs. Mayweather, can you explain when students can start looking at schools accepting VSAS and the requirements for submitting an application?
Yes. Students may begin reviewing the VSAS host institution application requirements, dates on which the institution will begin accepting and processing application, fee information, and more starting January 2019.
Thank you. Again, I just want to take this opportunity to remind our viewers and our students that if you do have questions, you can post them online at wayne.edu/live. The next question is for Dr. Dixon or Ms. Connors. And the question is, should students use placeholders by applying to more than one elective at the same institution?
Thank you for that question. The answer is you should not put a home elective as a placeholder for any away elective. Our local partners expect a student to participate if they're registered. They give our students priority and turn away visiting students, so canceling at the last minute is not good. Most programs will notify students in May or June of 2019 about your acceptance, so there's plenty of time to replace with a home elective. Mrs. Yates is very helpful. Ms. Carol Yates is in the records office. She's very helpful in the event that an away elective falls through. In terms of an away elective, students with a complete elective application should typically be notified of an elective offer or denial at least 30 days in advance of the start of the rotation, so that they have ample time to manage their schedule. Students may be offered a rotation on a shorter notice if space unexpectedly becomes available less than 30 days before the rotation. Barring any extenuating circumstances, it has been recommended that host institutions allow a student to drop a visiting elective up to 30 days prior to the start of that rotation. This will allow institutions to have ample time to onboard visiting students.
Thank you, Dr. Dixon. Can you also elaborate on how many months in advance you recommend students to apply? And how will they know if they're accepted to the elective that they have selected?
This information will be on the website for each program, so I imagine it will differ depending on the program that you're applying to. But each website will list the earliest date they accept applications and the earliest date that they will assign visiting students. The AAMC compendium lists most, but not all, away elective locations. And that email address for the site is https, the 2 backward slashes, services, services, .aamc.org/EEC/students students and then backslash.
Just to add more about the timeline of applying is, as Dr. Dixon said, all the dates that the applications open will be listed on VSAS, and it is important to try your best to apply on that date, because most away rotations are actually first come, first serve, rather than like merit based. There are some electives that have some like academic requirements for you to apply to them, but for the most part, whoever comes in with the like complete application will get that preference usually. So it's good to be on top of the deadlines and to be cognizant of when you should be applying to them.
Thank you. The next question we have is actually a financial aid question. And the question is, what kind of financial assistance can students expect or apply for the away rotation? For example, VSAS fees, travel, and housing. Now, additional financial aid is not provided for an away rotation or the related expenses. The standard living expenses, transportation for the months of coursework remain in your cost of attendance and are not specifically increased for an away rotation. This is because away rotations are not required for graduation. Students are expected to kind of budget the refund they have already received to accommodate any additional expenses that they're going to incur because of this. Okay. All right. So the next question is for Mrs. Mayweather again. When should students complete VSAS?
In January, you'll find that many of the host institutions will require applications to be submitted at least 30 to 60 days in advance to the rotation dates that will be published. As an example, an institution may publish a specialty program to the website on February the 1st. The submission for completed applications will likely begin for this, as an example, on February the 20th, followed by the processing of the application on March 20th. Students will be notified at a minimum of no later than 30 days prior to the start of the rotation if they've been accepted.
Thank you. Mrs. Mayweather, is there any supplemental information that may be requested? I know you and Kelsey have already mentioned some documents that visiting schools may require, but are there any certain ones you want to point out or talk about at this point?
Yes, not all institutions require supplemental documents. However, you may be asked to submit the following: your proof of liability or malpractice insurance. I will have that. A lot of times the schools just want to know if you have it. And then what I do is I say, yes, that you do have it. But if they want an example of it or they want to have the actual paper for that, I will submit that to the school. They also want proof of passing the USMLE Step 1. They want a personal statement sometimes. That's where something that you develop on your own. They want a current BLS or an ACLS. They want a letter of good standing, a flu vaccination within a year of the elective, TB verification within a year of the elective, a background check, sometimes at least as of 2018, which is the year right before your elective begins, a background check, and please do not forget to get your vaccinations as needed. They definitely have to be done by the time of your submission of your application before your rotation starts.
Awesome. Thank you. Mrs. Mayweather, what happens if a school that the student is interested in does not use VSAS?
Most medical schools will use the AAMC visiting application service to receive applications from students. However, the application process for away electives at host schools not yet participating in the VSAS process includes first making contact with the medical school or institution. We'll need to ensure that we have an affiliation agreement in place on file for that school. If an agreement is in place, in conjunction with your counselor and student affairs, the Schools of Medicine's away form at that point should be completed.
And just to add some examples of schools that were not on VSAS this past year, because there are some pretty big schools that don't use it. So if you don't see the school at all on VSAS, try to Google that institution. Again, Google like University of Pittsburgh away elective, and they should have, again, a page and instructions on how to apply if they're not through VSAS. So again, University of Pittsburgh is one, as well as University of Texas Southwestern in Dallas. And then if there's also a particular location that you're really interested in moving to, for example, Seattle, University of Washington is the main school there, and they are on VSAS. But to open up some other options, you could look into some maybe community hospitals there. For example, like Virginia Mason, they also accept students, but you have to apply separately. And again, follow the protocol that Ms. Mayweather said to make sure you have an agreement with the school.
Thank you for that great information. Now I have another question that was submitted prior to the start of the the Hangout from About Financial Aid, and the question is, can tuition scholarship money awarded by the Wayne Board of Governors be applied to away rotations? So just to kind of explain, there are no additional tuition costs associated with an away rotation. You're not charged additional tuition at Wayne State for an away rotation, and you're not charged at your away institution. So you're still charged the same, flat rate tuition that you would have been charged if you were taking that elective here. And that's what that, affiliation agreement kind of goes into as well. So any Board of Governors eligibility determination is not at all affected by your away rotation. As with all things to do with financial aid, if you are ever in doubt, I do recommend that you come in and you see either myself or Mr. Adam Zangerly, and we will answer any financial aid implications or questions that you may have. All right. Now the next question is also for Mrs. Mayweather, and it just asks about the criteria that needs to be met for international elective sites.
At this time frame, we are not sending students through GLOW program to international schools, but if you would like to attend, your contact will be Dr. Chung, Dr. Chi Chung, and he will be able to assist you in any international endeavors that you would like.
Thank you. We actually have a question from our live feed, and the question is, some students have been calling away elective rotations auditions. Is that the same thing as an away rotation?
Elective or away rotations are also called auditions because you're basically auditioning to be at that program. Away rotations are a really good opportunity to get to know a program and see whether you might fit in there. Again, especially if it's a location you're really thinking of going to, a program that you think you'll really like. There's kind of two schools of thought on away rotations. There's one side is that you should do a rotation at your top program so they get to know you and you can work hard. The other school of thought is that it's kind of risky in case it doesn't go so well. But I think most students know that if they're signing up for a rotation that they're going to work hard and show their best and do their best audition. So it's whatever you feel most comfortable with.
Thank you for that. So this is a question is there anything else that the panel would like to add at this point?
We just got another question about whether it's confusing to apply to several electives at one institution within the same department. I definitely did a lot of this for OB electives, and it's not hard. You just, the VSAS navigation page is really easy to use, and you basically just check all the electives that you want to apply for, and at one institution will generally have the same requirements for all of those electives in one department, and then you just add all of them to your application. So it's pretty simple, and you guys will definitely be able to follow the instructions on the website.
All right, thank you so much for that information. I believe this actually is going to conclude our Google Hangout because we are all out of questions. So if anyone has anything to add. Oh, I apologize.
Yes, I have a statement for students. So the question is, do all students need to do an away elective? And the answer to that is no. It's not necessary to do an away elective. It is, however, worthwhile to get advice from a faculty advisor in your specialty of interest to answer all questions and other specialty-specific questions. Career in Medicine provides data under each specialty about the importance of doing away electives. There's a website for that. That's https://students-residence.aamnc.org, and that's students-residents.aamnc.org. aamc.org in the /. The benefit can be if there is a particular program that you are really interested in and are concerned about your competitiveness for that program, working there for a month could give you an opportunity to see how well you perform clinically there. It also allows both you and the program to see if that's a good fit for you.
And just to add a little bit to this, it also depends on what specialty that you're going into. So as Dr. Dixon mentioned, it's really important to talk with faculty mentors about this. For example, orthopedic surgery definitely requires several electives for application at away institutions, but not all specialties do. So if you're not comfortable going away, don't want to budget your money for that, that's totally fine. Another way that away rotations are helpful is that if the spots for the Wayne rotations are full, it's an opportunity to kind of complete a rotation in whatever specialty you're pursuing as another place to do it if you can't get into a Wayne rotation in the months that you were hoping to get it. So it provides a little bit more flexibility also. But again, it's good to talk with a faculty mentor about whether doing an away would be beneficial, especially for the very competitive surgical subspecialties. They're definitely highly recommended.
Thank you so much. And I apologize for my hiccup earlier. Dr. Dixon, is there any helpful tips that you can provide as far as preparing for an elective selection?
Sure. So you should begin thinking about your rotation programs that you would be interested in learning, locations that you would like to visit. And once the AAMC Visiting Student Learning Opportunity site opens, to identify those areas, keeping in mind to pay close attention to the program dates, very important. The revamped site will include a searchable database of electives. It'll have a short application, the ability to pay application fees online, and students will be able to track their offers along with schedules. One other point is, what should students do if they need lodging while away? Well, if you find that you're in need of temporary housing during your elective, AAMC recommends that you consider visiting a website titled rotatingroom.com. That's capital ROTATING, capital ROOM.com. This is a sublet website for students by students who are in need of lodging during fourth year away electives.
Thank you for that, Dr. Dixon. As far as for lodging, I would also recommend students look at the HOST program, which is Help Our Students Travel. And it puts you in touch with medical school alumni that you also may be able to stay with. Typically, we do recommend this for our students who are traveling for interviews, but this is definitely a resource to explore as well. Mrs. Mayweather, who should the student contact at the School of Medicine if they needed assistance with gaining access to VSAS once it becomes available?
The School of Medicine's Records and Registration Office will send out an email to the class with directions and issue students authorizations to log onto the VSAS site. Additionally, Records and Registration, in collaboration with the Office of Student Affairs, will assist you in the application submission process.
Thank you. Can you also elaborate on if there is a limit on how many away rotation students are eligible to do?
As of now, you can apply to 3 rotations or electives that you want to, but the number is unlimited. It actually depends on the school. And please note that you do have to pay for every elective that you want to apply for.
Now, if you did ask a question on wayne.edu/live, and we were not able to answer your question, we will either respond to your question on the live feed itself or send you an email after the session if additional research is required. Does anyone have anything to add?
Counselor Kate, can you address the issue of students either wanting to do a research or a leave of absence for educational reasons?
Yes, that's an important question that's come up, and it's become increasingly popular, particularly in competitive specialties, for students to consider a leave of absence after year 3 to do a research fellowship. So one of the little glitches with that is that you're not given access to VSAS while you're on a leave. So we've been trying to problem solve that, and are trying to arrange ways that we can bring the students back in April of that year they would step out, so that they can begin to participate in the VSAS process and set up away electives when they return. The important thing to do if you are considering a leave, it sounds like some people are already asking about this, is to come in and meet with your counselor and talk about how to apply for a leave. All leaves are approved by Dr. Margaret Chadwell, the Dean of Student Affairs. And it's good to discuss with your counselor what you're thinking of applying for, how that will impact, and again, how when you return, you'll be able to do away rotations. But it definitely is an option, and one that we've seen more students taking part in. If you're not able to return from the fellowship, it's going to make it difficult to do away rotations when you do return. But we're trying to work our way around that.
I just wanted to add one more thing, that to definitely reach out to your M4 classmates about away rotations, especially since there are a lot of us who have done and are going to be doing them. We're a really good resource about institutions that are good for students, that people enjoyed being at and felt like made a difference for them. I definitely reached out to some last year about places that they felt a little bit more welcomed rather than others. So it's good to get that student insight. So definitely reach out to people if you're interested.
Thank you for that. We do actually have another question from the live feed, and it's a student who is wondering who they will contact if they don't hear back about an elective and it's somewhere they really want to attend. And I just wanted to add to that question about what the standard or expected turnaround time can be for a response.
Depending on the institution, the turnaround time can go from 30 days to maybe 3 or 4 months, depending on the date that you've selected. A lot of times institutions ask that you do not call them. So I would suggest the best way to find out the status of your application is to just send an email out. I know that I've talked to some people that are coordinators at their institution, and if you call them, they will tend to remove your application because a lot of times they say, please do not contact us. So I think an email would justify asking the question, and it's a warranted question. So I think that would be fine if you just send an email to ask about your status. I think that would be okay.
I'd also like to add that I've often encouraged students, particularly if you go through the compendium or once you're on the program's website, there is a contact person. And I do tell students, if it says do not contact, do not contact. That will not help you. But you could send an email. But often, unless they state that you shouldn't contact them, the coordinators can be very helpful and can give you kind of inside information, and it's a way to build a relationship with that program. There were a few other things that I wanted to talk about. Earlier on, we talked about BLS, and because of the timetable we follow, I know my Year 4 students are concerned about this too. It is possible to renew your BLS by contacting Mrs. Crystal Parker in Conjoint Teaching. She can give you access to an online recertification and the link to locations of the American Heart Association in the area where you can go and do the skills check. It's a little less expensive that way. And I know that for the class of 2019, she's also helping to organize a recertification of their ACLS during their 4th year. So we're aware of the expiration dates, and that's something students shouldn't be concerned about. You can recertify for BLS in time to submit your application. I guess the other things, maybe a little out of order, but things to consider right now are just meeting with faculty in areas of interest, trying to explore subspecialties while you're on your clerkships, and really talking with faculty and residents to determine, you know, what made you choose this, what made you competitive, and then looking at the away programs either through the compendium or through the VSAS website, and checking those dates is really important. We've stressed that a few times. Meet with your counselor as you're considering these. We like to make sure you've got all your paperwork gathered and that you're well prepared before the timelines. And do look at that Careers in Medicine website, because it does give you even a graphic of how important it is to do an away elective. It can be a real advantage, but it isn't a necessity. But again, it's specialty specific, and also sometimes a good idea for competitive programs, East Coast, West Coast, to be able to do a rotation in those locations and really show them how wonderfully trained you are, which does stand out when you go across the country.
Thank you so much for that. We have shared a lot of information, answered a lot of questions, and also shared a lot of links. So there will be a follow-up email that will go out to your class's listserv with all of these links. So if you didn't get a chance to jot those down when they were mentioned, or you won't have time to rewatch this Google Hangout, you will be receiving that information in your email. Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your attention. We really appreciate all of the panelists. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and knowledge. Students, please never hesitate to reach out to all of us or any of us with any questions, because we are here for you. Kelsey or Dr. Dixon, Ms. Connors, is there anything anyone would like to add? Mrs. Mayweather?
I just want to ask Kelsey, from her experience, is there anything that she'd like to give the students as positive feedback, or anything they should look forward to from this point forward?
I would say you guys have a great year ahead of you guys. You're going to learn a lot and really get to know things that you like and don't like about specialties. So be really intentional as you're going through each of your clerkships to try to figure that out. I had a hard time figuring out what I wanted to do. And so it really helps to make a list and keep track of things that you liked about certain clerkships, because you will forget as you go through, because you're so busy and learn and see so many new things. And really the VSAS stuff sounds like a lot of work, but it's really something that everyone can accomplish if they want to do an away rotation. That's not as daunting as it seems. You have a really great team to support you between Mrs. Mayweather and Dr. Dixon and your counselors and everyone and your faculty. So everything will work out. Just stay positive and let us know what kind of questions you have along the way.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate your attention during this Google Hangout. We hope you'll join us again soon.